This wheel is cruel. But anyways, hello, welcome to Trying Every Archetype. We have a list of 398 or some archetypes. I don't really know. Some are bad, some are good. Blue means I don't know. Red means bad. Green means good. Hopefully we can get lucky. And yes, I'm not sleepy. Who would have thunk? Because I'm just so inspired right now. The last TA I did, hopefully that's coming up. I think it's I'm not gonna just watch it if you haven't already. Let's see what we're gonna get. Oh man. Brother, what? What? Wait, what? Yo, hey, yo, what? Why are we playing this deck? Why so early? Why is this all of a sudden? Hey, yo! Oh man, this is this is like Mary Crimbo. You get to play a deck that's probably not that bad, but also probably annoying to play. Everyone will have this, man. All right, let's wish me luck. Wish me luck. All right, Sleepy Nose is back. Yes, I'm tired, but I have something funny to say. Basically, we are not on MD Pro 3 or 3 Pro, mainly because it's mostly OCG. Now, when you get a deck like Kashtira, unfortunately in the OCG, let me just show you what it looks like. Yeah. Fenrir's Band, Unicorns at 1, 2 Shifter, 1 Raid Soth. I unfortunately can't play MD Pro 3 this time. So we're on Dueling Nexus. Don't worry though, because in reference to the deck that we're playing, this barely needs an introduction. In all honesty, I can probably skip this. That's why I'm not feeling too bad about it. Now, we got Kashtira on the wheel. I had a very mixed feeling at first. I remember I took a shower and I was like, well, this deck is only associated with bad memories. Getting zone locked, a Rise Heart, D-Barrier, Floodgates, and to be honest, I agree. I was like, how am I going to make this deck fun and playable? What am I going to do with this deck that's different? All I thought about was okay, so in Kashtira is just 3 of this, 3 of this, 3 of that, you know? And that was the difficulty that I had to surpass. But after I played it, this has been a guilty pleasure at this point. It is so insane how my opinion can change. Now I know what it's like to feel now. The difference between being on the receiving end on it and then playing it. This has been so interesting to play. Playing a good deck for once. This has been so fun and funny. Yeah, I'm completely ruining my opponent's life, but this is just fun. The cards are strong on their own. They're basically a group full of boss monsters. You can even add your own little bit of character. The issue I have with this deck is that there's 2 iterations I made. Because there's issues, but before I get into the issues, let me get into what am I playing? What is Kashtira? Well, for those who don't know, Kashtira is a series of, it's a level 7 archetype themed around level 7 monsters that have very degenerate effects that you kind of can't really respond to. I mean, you can't really recover from, because it does one of the most powerful form of removal, which is banishing a card face down. Now, truth be told, it is really difficult to add cards that are face down. Unless you're playing Gizmek or your or your Mature Chronicles at 10, then you're not retrieving a face down card. Now, let me explain the cards. I'm going to be really fast because honestly, I played this deck for 4 days straight for fun. I played this deck for fun because this deck can just play on its own. It can do whatever it wants. So you know what's crazy? I'm not going to show you any games that I'm playing in real time. I'm going to show you nothing but replays. I have a week's worth of replay stored because I literally already played the deck. I've done all I can do. And yeah, we're now on MD Pro 3, but, you know, deal with me now. The simulator's still actually kind of good. I do like doing Nexus. Alright, first things first, let's start off with the good stuff. You want 3 of this. Fenrir is a level 7 that... Okay, all of the Kashtiras... Well, almost all the Kashtiras have an effect that to special summon themselves if you do not control any monsters. Now, Fenrir is one of them. And then it has an effect that during the main phase, you can just add a Kashtira monster from your deck to your hand. Like what? This isn't when it's summoned. This is during the main phase, which means it goes back to your turn and you can do it again. Go back to your turn again, do it again. And what is interesting to note is that it says Kashtira monster, but it doesn't exclude itself. So you could add another copy of Fenrir if you want. Now it has... The archetype is also full of reactive effects, where if your opponent does something that you don't like, your effects trigger, and they are very mean effects. Now, it could be when this card declares an attack, because the other Kashtiras also have that effect, or when your opponent activates a monster effect. You can target a face-up card your opponent controls, banish it face down. Now, to be honest, this is really strong. This is a free special summon. It can banish cards face down, not monsters, but any face-up card. Well, your opponent controls. It's scary. That is a scary card. Next up, the second scariest card. Kashtira Unicorn, and probably the reason why people hate this deck. Also has the effect, you know, no monsters, free special summon. And during your main phase, this one adds a Kashtira spell. I'll get into the spells later. And then remember, either when it declares an attack or your opponent activates a monster effect, this card's effect is to look at your opponent's extra deck and banish one monster from it face down. You're ripping key pieces out of their deck now. Out of their extra deck. Like imagine they can't beat you unless they need a card in their extra deck. If anything threatens you, rip a card out of their extra deck that could threaten you. And we'll be doing that a lot. This is such a scary card. Fenrir and Unicorn on the field are so scary. Next up, this card you only run one of. It's not as scary. It's a Kashtira Ogre. Remember, no monsters, free special summon. Then, during the main phase, adds a Kashtira Trap. There are interesting use cases for this card. I can get into that later though. And then, you remember, declare an attack or did bro just activate a monster effect? This one lets you excavate 5 cards from your opponent's deck and banish one of them face down. Then place the rest on the top of the deck in the same order. So this is like any card they plan on having. You can look at the top 5, banish anything that threatens you. So like imagine like a Harpy's Feather Duster hurts you, or evenly matched. Your Ogre triggers, and then you can look through the 5 cards, and then if you see that one of Harpy's Feather Duster, banish it. This just makes it's so scary. These are reactive, which is interesting. It's like a nice way of balancing the cards, though it still wasn't enough. This one is a beefier guy, being a 2800. Next up, we have the cards that technically don't have that effect. Tier Limits Kashtira. During the main phase, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, banish a Kashtira or Tier Limits monster. A Tier Limits card from your hand or graveyard. Now, this has very unique interactions with the trap card and other trap cards, because the spells and traps do have effects when they're banished. So this one's kinda, it's interesting. It doesn't help too much, but it is a free extension. Also, if it's normal special summon, you can send the top 3 cards of either player's deck to the graveyard. Then, if this card's sent to the graveyard, by a card effect, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. I mean, this is pretty good. I mean, it mills your opponent's deck if you got Shifter online. We're gonna talk about it later. But yeah, it's not bad. Next up, we have a nice way of getting that battle phase going. Scareclaw Kashtira. 0/0 attack, but has 2600 defense, and here's why. Because it can attack a defense position, and then if it does, it applies its defense for damage calc. Also, it also has the quick effect special summon by banishing a Kashtira or Scareclaw card from your hand or graveyard. Free special summon, and then it has this really cool effect. If your Kashtira or Scareclaw monster battles an opponent's monster, that opponent's monster effects are negated until the end of this turn. So if you attack me or if I attack you, your cards are just straight up negated. And remember, this is a non-targeting negate. This just, if I hit you or you hit me, you're just straight up negated. And I think that's really powerful. I do like that. That is a really interesting effect, and there's so many cool use cases you can do. Next up, time for the funny guy. Kashtira Rise Heart. Man, I love this card. This is the card along with the boss monsters that really get the deck going. If you control a Kashtira monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then you're locked into Xyz monsters for the rest of the turn. And then during the main phase, if this card was normal special summon this turn, you can banish a Kashtira card from your deck, and then banish the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck face down. And if you banish any, this card's level becomes 7. Banishing the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck face down can be really scary for your opponent, because whatever they were going to draw, they're not drawing it anymore. It could have been strong, it could have been weak, it could have been a vital card, it could have been their one-of Brand Diffusion. And this triggers so much. This is dangerous. This archetype is dangerous, man. Now let's get on to this guy, the boss. This guy's banned. We're not gonna talk about him. I'll talk about him if he gets unbanned. Just know he was unfair. This version of the deck without the ban card is how I think Kashtira should have been reeled in. Kashtira should have been like this. Like, it's a bunch of powerful standalone cards. And then there's still the strategy. But the boss monster that got banned kind of made things a little bit overboard, right? Anyways, we have Shangri-Ira. This one is a rank 7 Psychic Fire. Wait, Promethean Princess? 0 attack, 3000 defense. A real beefy man. Then during your standby phase, you can special summon a Kashtira monster from your deck. So if that card survives, special summon a Kashtira from your deck. If it survives again, special summon a Kashtira from your deck. This card has so many good effects. And then guess what? Each time a card your opponent owns and possesses is banished face down, you can choose one unused main monster or spell in trap zone. It cannot be used while a monster's face up on the field. While this monster's face up on the field. Now, that's a mouthful. Basically what it is, if your opponent activates Prosperity or Extravagance or Desires, you banished a card face down that you controlled, that you owned. Which means this card can target a monster zone, make it unusable. No summoning into that zone. Or if I target a spell trap, no activating spell traps in that zone. And then remember, that is a non-once per turn. So if you activate Desires, it gets negated, then you activate Prosperity. This card triggers twice. And imagine what you do with multiple copies. You see some very degenerate activity. Then above that, it has Protection, where if this card on the field will be destroyed by battle card effect, you can detach a material from this card instead. These cards are so self-sufficient. And then we're not even done. It just gets more busted. You know what? I'm going to go for the really busted one. Kashtira Birth. This card makes the deck so good. This card makes the deck as powerful as it is. I mean, why did they give it so many good effects? It's a continuous spell. First off, you can normal summon a 11/7 monster without tributing. It probably didn't even need that effect to be good. Then during your main phase, you can special summon your non-Xyz Kashtira that's banished from your graveyard. So you're telling me this guy is a sitting monster reborn from the banish as well for your Kashtiras. Like just sitting there, each turn you can just special summon a guy, and then you can normal summon without tributing. And then also, if your opponent activates a spell card or effect, while you control a Kashtira, you can target 3 cards in your opponent's graveyard and banish them face down. What? That is insane. For triggering Shangri-Ira again. Like, it just gets so scary, man. Remember, all searchable. Kashtira Theosis, you know what this does? It targets a Kash, special summons a Kashtira with a different attribute from your deck in defense position. And then locks you into Xyz. Then if it's banished, you can target your banished Kashtira cards and then add to your hand. Like what? By the way, searchable. Every turn. We got Overlap. Overlap you don't really want to run as much, but it is pretty cool. The first effect I think does not matter at all, but the second effect is that if it's banished while you control a Kashtira, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects. Which means that your Rise Heart can technically just banish the Overlap and then get a free negate off, which is really important in very niche situations. We have Extra. This card's useless because we're playing Kashtira, we're not trying to play Vsauce Starfrost. Don't worry about it. Next up we have Big Bang. This card is really important. Due to their slight inconsistencies in this deck and their slight inconsistencies, but thanks to the power of very good cards, you're able to make certain plays come through even though your hand doesn't really shape out to work. But it's all completely dependent on what your opponent has, right? So Kashtira Big Bang, right? The first effect isn't important, but I'll still talk about it. If you control an Xyz monster on the field, if a Kashtira Xyz monsters on the field and a player controls 2 or more monsters, they must banish monsters they control face down so they only control 1. So it's kind of like evenly matched if you control a Shangri-Era. Then also if it's banished, here's the real effect. Target a Kashtira Xyz monster you control, add one of your Kashtira monsters attached to it to your hand, then if you want, you can special summon the monster from your hand. So normally if you don't have access to Birth but you do want a free summon, if you don't have access to Kashtira Birth, the continuous spell, but you do have Shangri-Era and Rise Heart, you can use the Rise Heart, banish the Big Bang. Big Bang targets the Shangri-Era and then detaches a material and summons it. But better watch out, you're losing protection off Shangri-Era. Then we have Preparations, which can be searched off of the Ogre. Basically, continuous trap. During either player's turn, summon one of your Kashtira monsters as banished or in your hand. That's not that bad. Then, if your opponent activates a trap card while you control a Kashtira and is already faceable in the field, means you should probably activate this during draw phase so they don't con you with the Imperm or the Evenly. Look at your opponent's hand and if you do, banish 1 card from it face down. What in the world? These effects are so insane. Like, these effects are... Every one of these cards is just insane. Every single one. And I didn't even talk about the banish guy. The boss monster makes me want to cry. I fought against him. He warped the meta. Anyways, Pressure Planet Raid Soth. Unfortunately, it's not a Kashtira card. You're not searching field spells off a unicorn. But please remember this because this card is you need this card. Because it's a field spell that adds a Kashtira from your deck to your hand. Then it has a slight buff where monster you control gain 100 attack and defense for each different attribute on the field. You can gain a lot of attack and defense for protection. Then if your Shangri-Era activates an effect, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. Very interesting scenarios where you would purposefully wait on triggering your other Kashtiras because you want to time it perfectly so that the Birth can, so the Shangri-Era can trigger, and then the field spell triggers to pop a card. So it's super unique. Anyways, that's all of the cards, the Kashtira cards. Now, all I'm going to do after this, since we explained Kashtira, I'm going to just show off the replays and then we'll call it. Alright, so I'm just going to show off a couple games that I had, all replays duelingnexus.com, don't worry about it. First things first, this build I think is the funny build. The build that I like, with the Allure Queen engine. Anyways, Shifter turns off your opponent's hand traps. We do have a couple of funny games, let's see. So we open Unicorn, Rise Heart, Spell Card Solo Exchange, real funny card, and then Shifter. I've learned that every time you open Shifter, whether you like it or not, just activate it. You're better off you just might as well. They opened Ponix, Barong, Imperm, Kurikara, and High King Avatar Grunix. So let's see what happens. Draw phase, we shotgun the Shifter. Great. Standby main. Special summon Unicorn effect gets Impermed. It's quite unfortunate. Getting Informed during that, but you know what happens to the best of us. So we go Rise Heart effect. Trigger the Rise Heart. Banishing an Ogre. Now, personally, I can't remember what I should have banished instead of Ogre. My intention was like, if my Unicorn survives or if I Shangri-Era summon Unicorn, then if the turn comes back to me, I can go Unicorn effect, add Birth, and Birth to add back the ogre, right? But or with the second Rise Heart in my hand, I was thinking maybe if I make it back again, Rise Heart, banish for banish, I think it's banish Kashtira Theosis so I can add back ogre, but maybe that was a whiff. Banish 3, become the 7 Shangri-Ira pass. Now they open called by. We go Shangri-Ira, standby phase, summon Fenrir. They go Ponix effect. Add the good old Fire King Sanctuary. They go Sanctuary effect, placing Fire King Island. Fire King Island pops a monster, adds a Fire King from deck to hand. Pops the Ponix, adds Sacred Fire King Garunix. Garunix then summons itself since a monster was popped. Garunix effect on normal or special summon destroys a Fire Beast. Destroys the Volcanics. They probably forgot though. So them popping the Volcanics was bad because Volcanics only activates the effect if it is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard. But we triggered Shifter, so they kind of whipped in that department. Well, we went Fenrir, removing their FKI, trigger both of the effects, which means they get to Kurikara us. That kind of sucks. We take 45-31. We're kind of cooked. They go called by on the Shifter, so I don't know why. We open, on draw phase, we open 7 Tachyon. Now, that is a funny card. That is a very funny opener, and probably the only good opener we ever had. Here's why. 7 Tachyon, reveal, Tachyon Dragon, search, Vanity Ruler. And then shuffle back a card. Then spell card, Soul Exchange, tributing both of my opponent's monsters, summon Vanity Ruler. There you go. So now they can't special summon, which is going to be a pretty big issue for them. They go draw phase, another FKI, Sanctuary, set the Bayrong, pass it back, draw Rise Heart effect, banish the Theosis. Banish the 3 off the top. Theosis can add back the Unicorn, but I can't really summon it since I don't have Birth on field. Battle phase, punch into the Bayrong, punch into this. Remember, can't trigger the effect because I can't special summon because Bayrong says... Oh, it has to be destroyed by card effect, never mind. But yeah, no effects, man, no special summoning. Opening the Garunix is bad because the Volcanics was supposed to summon it. They got Kieran and then they surrender. Alright, next up we open the Allure Queen build. Now the Allure Queen build is funny because it gives you access to a free Shangri-Ira. We open the field spell, which is kind of not really what you want to open. You want to open the continuous spell because the continuous spell does search the field spell. But anyways, we have double Unicorn, really good. We got ourselves a Talents and a Called by the Grave, so not half bad. They're playing Exosister, but they open Sakitama plus Aratama, that's a free rank 4. They have Shifter on lock, but we're unaffected. They have Sophia and Stella, so hey, that's not bad. They didn't draw phase Shifter because they want to see what we're playing. We go Unicorn, they go Shifter, that doesn't matter. They probably shouldn't have done that, and here's why. So, they waited to main phase to activate the Shifter after I summon Unicorn, like they knew I was playing. Little do they know I have a Talent in hand, and then also, because they shotgunned it a little too late, I get to trigger my Unicorn to rip a card. As shown here. Unicorn effect, rip a card. We ripped their Baguska because we didn't want to. Then we also went Talents to see what they're playing just to be safe. We put back one of their Exosisters. We triggered Theosis. Theosis to summon ourselves a good old Fenrir. We went through the whole shaboot shebang here. Fenrir effect. Add ourselves Rise Heart. Shangri-Ira. Since we knew their hand had nothing else, we were pretty good. Big Bang effect. Send those 3, and then trigger the Shangri-Ira. And also the Big Bang as well. Taking back the Unicorn just to summon the Unicorn back. And also get in the zone. Second Shangri-Ira, set call bypass. Our opponent draws Stella. We go Shangri-Ira, summon ourselves Fenrir, because we don't really need to rip from the extra deck anymore. They go Sakitama, revealing, to normal summon a Spirit. They go Aratama, adding the Sakitama back. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this normal summons a Spirit. If you really wanted to save your normal summon, what you could have done, you technically want to normal Aratama search Saki and then Saki reveal, you know, but They kind of whiffed in that department. Also, I don't know why they activated the Aratama. I thought they wanted to get Exo Sister access. Because, well, I guess unfortunately, since we didn't have Birth Live and we're not summoning from the graveyard yet, we're summoning from the Banish pile, the Sophia may not have done nothing. Is that what they're trying to go for? I would have used them. Well, they already used the free normal summon and then they set Exo Sister Stella. I don't know. I feel like one of the Exo Sisters you could have went into could have definitely contested one of my cards, but it's fine. And then they surrendered. You know, I'd like to note there are definitely games that I had against people who weren't playing like that crazy of a deck. That they were playing like, I don't know, Red Eyes with like pretty bad cards. And I had pretty cool games with them, but I'm not going to show them because this feels like bullying. Instead, what I'm going to show is I think I lost this game. It's a really interesting thing, and it really shows the slight issue this deck does have. Number one, it's if I extend too hard. If I extend too hard, I die to Nibiru. AKA 2 Shangri-Ira, that's 5 on field, you know? Or I do die to Droll. And then what you see in their hand, evenly matched. Evenly matched can be truly a sinner in today's age. Thankfully enough, guess what? This has to be sent to the graveyard, so you know what you gotta do. Shotgun Shifter, it turns off Droll. I'm telling you, that's beautiful, ain't it? We go Unicorn effect, Unicorn to add Birth. We don't have to worry about Ash Blossom or Droll, which is really nice. We can go Field Spell to add Scare Class. To add Scare Cash. Now, I don't know why, I think I did Scare Cash. Oh, that was so cool. We use Scare Cash effect, banishing the Kashtira because we actually had Birth, which means we can use Birth effect to summon back the Fenrir. Birth, summon back Fenrir. Fenrir effect, add ourselves Rise Heart. Now, what's interesting is that what I could have done is use the free normal summon instead. Because what I could have done instead was, instead of adding Scare Cash, I could have did free normal summon Fenrir instead. And then Fenrir to add Rise Heart summon. Rise Heart can then send, Ogre, and then I can summon the Ogre. So Scare Cash was not the good option there. Because I didn't even get to use the normal summon in my Birth, which was a whiff in my department. We go Shangri-Ira, Rise Heart effect, summoning itself. Rise Heart effect again, banishing the Big Bang, sending 3. We're triggering the Big Bang, ripping, and then we're also triggering Shangri-Ira, taking a zone. Summon back the Scare Cash. I don't know what they're playing, but I did fear shenanigans, so. Then we go into the second Shangri-Ira. We're getting really greedy and disrespecting. Shangri-Ira summons a Fenrir. Unfortunately, we don't have Ogre access. You know what else is unfortunate? Evenly match. You see, there is no negates on field, and that is a slight issue this deck does have. You can't stop evenly match. Especially when I'm playing like the funnier build, right? Because I want to do more degenerate stuff, but evenly match really hurts the deck. So, we lose all our stuff. Now, I decided to keep the Birth because I can always just extend later. They go Rescue Cat, but since I shifted, this card cannot send itself to the graveyard. So in that department, they whiffed. Because what they could have done is Scareclaw extra, link into the other guy, then go add Field Spell, Search, Special Summon. They could have done a little bit more, but I guess they forgot that Shifter was live. Now, we did open Allure Queen 7 for the free normal summon, and we still have Terraforming, so we're still looking good. We summon back the Fenrir. We go Fenrir effect. Fenrir to add Unicorn, and here's where I whiffed. Because they go Droll. We go Fenrir. Now, to be honest, if I started with Terraforming, that probably would have been even worse. Because Terraforming adding Wraithsoth would do nothing because they would have Drolled on there and then wouldn't have access to the Unicorn, so. You know what? It was fine. It was fine. Unicorn, free normal summon, battle phase, hit for 2400, activate Unicorn effect, we're ripping a card again. We ripped ourselves Phantom Knight the Break Sword because it was funny. Then we go into good old Shangri-Ira pass. They draw an E-Telly. We go Shangri-Ira, they go Mercy Teleport. Summoning themselves a Psychic Tracker. We then summon a Fenrir because we know what we're dealing with. I saw their extra deck. Now, what they do, they summon the extra, go into the Scareclaw Lightheart to add Field Spell. They should have done that sooner in all honesty. Then I get to trigger the Fenrir. I'm triggering Fenrir, banishing the Lightheart because that locks him out of the access to the Vsauce line, right? And then also, this gives me the opportunity to use Shangri-Ira's effect to remove one of their zones, because the thing about Scareclaws is that they can special summon themselves to the area of another Scareclaw monster. So if I can nip the zone away, because they have the Psychic Tracker here, they can't really summon a Scareclaw in that zone. So I thought I could like stop them. And by the way, they already normal summon the Axtra as well. So they're forced to special summon from now on. I did not know they had the Arrival in hand though, so I'm just trying to lock them and make sure that they can't Scareclaw. So we remove this zone here. They go Field Spell. Field Spell to add ourselves Scareclaw Rykart. Now they can't special summon. We go Birth, banishing all of those copies here so that their rival that they potentially have won't go. We go Shangri-Ira again, banishing another zone, and they quit. Alright, here's the funny thing that goes on. So, yeah. This deck does have a very slight issue with Molcharmy Perulia, and then it also has a slight issue with Fuvaros, which is one of the new hand traps that, I mean, it hurts every deck, but I think it hurt. This deck can slightly play around Fuvaros. It's an issue when you open 2 Theosis because you are special summoning from deck, and if you want Shangri-Ira on field, then you gotta special summon from deck, so, from the extra, so you're giving your opponent 2 draws, which really hurts. They opened a Forbidden Droplet, a Lightning Storm, Dora, Fuvaros, and Pydra. We're kinda screwed, I'm gonna be honest. Tempai is a real issue, and I don't put enough presence on board. So here's what I do. Unicorn! And you know what the issue is, pal? They did not shotgun Fuvaros, and because of that, they're losing good cards from their extra. They're gonna shotgun Fuvaros now. Or not. Oh, they wait! Theosis Fuvaros, they want to guarantee they get it after I commit. Okay, great. They go, okay, they draw another one. We go Unicorn, rip a card their extra deck. I think I rip their Transcendent Dragion. We go Fenrir adding ourselves a Scare Cash. We want to make sure that we don't summon from the deck or extra to give them too many draws. We go Rise Heart. We go Rise Heart effect, sending the Ogre. Because what we don't want to do is give free special summons here. We go Scare Cash to banish Theosis to bring back the Ogre. And then we can go Birth. We did give one because I assume that they're playing something pre-degenerate. We go Ogre effect. Ogre to add ourselves Preparations. So, we did make Harmonizer Gradle. Now, what I could have done was make Shangri-Ira, but I had fear that my opponent would be playing something pretty degenerate. So we made Harmonizer Gradle because it can't destroy a battle blood of monster with the same attribute. So what I was hoping is that I wouldn't get absolutely slaughtered, right, by Tempai, by making a monster that can't destroy a battle. You know, that was my plan. We set ourselves a Kashtira Preparation just in case they have a trap, and we can rip a card from hand. And then we also have Metaltronus. We can target one of the dragon monsters and banish, or negate its effects, so that's pretty useful. So we set it, we got Fenrir, Ogre, plus Unicorn. That's a lot of interruption. We trigger the Preparations because we need to survive. Standby main, they go Lightning Storm. They decide to destroy our spell traps because since they have the Forbidden Droplets, they are not worried about our monsters. Our spell traps are kind of dangerous though. The Preparation and the Birth can totally eat up one of those cards. If they want to like summon back their Tempais and then they activate Sangang Kaiman, and we can just go Birth to like get rid of all their cards so they can't summon off the graveyard. So they blow the back row, unfortunately, that really sucks. They go Dora. I think it's Dora to add Tempai Poplar, Tempai Genroku. Genroku, when added to the hand, gets to summon itself. We go Unicorn plus Ogre. They do Droplet for 3, targeting the Fenrir, the Unicorn, and the Gradle. They don't care about my Kashtira Ogre, totally understandable. They summon the Genroku, we choose 5, we see what we can rip. They have an Impulse, a Droplet, an Ash, a Shifter, and a Kaiman. We obviously are going to banish the Kaiman. Unicorn gets negated, no extra deck rip for us. Genroku tributes itself, summoning a Fadra. Fadra effect, special summon a monster from your graveyard. Technically that Birth would have eaten my life there, you know? Summons back the Pydra. Pydra effect, you can send it off Droplet, but as long as you can gain access to Fadra, you can always summon it back. Add Sangang Kaiman, they're looking really hot right now. Battle phase. Sangang Kaiman, add and summon. They get the Chundra on field. You're not looking hot, I'm gonna be honest. Special summon a Tempai from deck. They summon back another Pydra. And now we're entering scary territory. We lose the unicorn. They synchro summon. Yep, they go into Biden Dragon. Biden to bring back. We are not looking hot. Get rid of the harmonizing Gradle. They go Fadra. Fadra, synchro summon. They go into Koi Belt to pop another card. Goodbye Fenrir. Hydra, synchro summon. Transcendent Dragion, make sure to ask your friend. Popping 2 cards, increasing attack. 200 to me, plus another 3k, plus another 3k. Nothing's on the field, but don't you forget, Biden can come back, pal. And that's a game. Yeah, you thought I wasn't going to show you a loss, huh? You know, there are games where you see like the full zone locking and all that, but that's not very common because you're either eating a Nibiru or, in this case, a spear mode. Now, Egyptian God, but knows that's not meta enough. Dude, we're not playing meta. They were not playing meta either. But you know what's funny, and what I did want to show, was the use of the Allure Queen engine and its ability to put a free Shangri-Era on field without committing too much of the board already. So, it's time for us to die to spear mode. It's funny, they have a soul crossing as well. It's real funny. Your turn. Hey. We start ourselves off with Theosis. We're obviously going to add Unicorn. Unicorn's one of the best starters in this deck. Special the Unicorn. Unicorn. We're going to add Birth in this situation since we already have access to Fenrir. I'm giving birth. We normal summon the Fenrir. Fenrir to add ourselves Scare Cash. Now, we already did normal summon. I think it is important here, and here's why. We go Rise Heart. We make the Shangri, Rise Heart, banish the Ogre, Sin 3, Zone Lock. Birth can actually summon back the Ogre. Ogre actually could do something unique. We actually add Big Bang. So the plan is technically, with the Big Bang, on my opponent's turn or my turn, I can use Scareclaw to banish the Big Bang, and then Big Bang to target the Shangri-Era, so that it can summon one of the monsters underneath it that's attached. And then I held on to the Chaos Allure Queen as follow-up. So that was pretty cool. Then we get greedy, we make the second Shangri-Era. Opponent's turn hits, they draw a card, and our fate gets sealed because we summon the third monster. What they're going to do, start the main phase 1, gotta activate that Pot of Extravagance. Then, banish 6, chain Soul Crossing. I chain Scare Cash here, banishing the Big Bang. I want to see what they get rid of. They kept the Unicorn, summon the Spear Mode, draw 2 cards, Winged Dragon of Ra. Wow! The Winged Dragon of Ra has been summoned. Kashtira Unicorn, give me the rip. Sun God Unification effect. Or they just summoned it, they just activated it. We rip a card from the extra, they aren't really that important. He spins the Winged Dragon of Ra, pops the Unicorn. My Brimbo and Crimbo. Why did you pop the Unicorn though? Like, does this pop monsters? No. Target a monster and destroy it. Oh, he had to pop a monster. That's really unfortunate. I thought Winged Dragon of Ra would do more. You know what's funny? I think an evenly match would just do more. You didn't even, well, I guess you used both copies of your Winged Dragon of Ra? I don't know. I think Ancient Chant would have been better, right? Because your Spear Mode summoned your Winged Dragon of Ra, and I assume you don't have an extra one in your deck. I don't know, you could have OTK'd me in all honesty here. You kind of whiffed. We still have Birth on field, and that's extremely nasty. And just like that, Birth, Unicorn, Recursion much. Unicorn effect, adding ourselves a Theosis to summon from deck. We triggered the good old Theosis, targeting the Unicorn, summoning ourselves Fenrir. And we're doing it all over again, because there's no rules, man. We had ourselves Rise Heart. Rise for the Judgment Day. And what we go into is the Shangri-Era. We go Rise Heart effect. Trigger, banishing Overlap. I added this card very late because I wanted a way to targeting negate a card. Because I find situations where there's nothing really I want to banish. Like, I don't want to banish a Big Bang. I don't really want to banish a Kashtira because I don't have Birth. I want to negate. And this is a funny card. Makes Rise Heart more useful than just, I'm going to banish and summon off Birth. So, the Overlap's pretty useful to target the Winged Dragon of Ra that has no protection, by the way. Worst Egyptian God on Earth. And negate its effects. We banish 3 off the top. We trigger the Overlap, targeting the chicken. We trigger Shangri-Ira, they chain Sun God Unification to gain 4,000 life points by tributing their monster. No negate for me, we remove a zone. We trigger the good old Rate Soth, popping that continuous trap card. They have evenly matched, they're about to do the silliest thing on earth. We activate the field spell effect. We were actually pitching the Chaos Allure Queen here. We were adding to our hand another Allure Queen. Because guess what? We didn't use the normal summon. And that's why this is so good. That's why Birth is so synergistic with Allure Queen. Free normal summon. And then remember, Allure Queen effect targets a lighter dark monster. And then if it's lighter, well, targets a monster, becomes the, I think, name. And if it's lighter dark, you get to summon Allure Queen from your deck. So that's a free rank 7. We target the Allure Queen. Equip it, summon Allure Queen level 7. Then we trigger the Rate Soth. Because we didn't use the effect. We can actually add ourselves Tier Cash. We go Tier Cash effect, summoning itself. Banishing one of the cards. We banish the Shangri-Ira just in case we have access to preparations. We send the top 3 cards of our opponent's deck to the graveyard this time, just to see what they're playing. Oh no. Numeron as well. Battle phase. 1900. 1900. 1900. 2700. They gained 4,000. I knew we weren't going to kill. Now let's go into some XZs. Harmonizing Gradle and pass. We could have did more, but I decided not to. Now, I think it's good that I talk about why didn't they evenly match? Well, I don't have an answer for why they didn't evenly match me. I really don't. They had evenly matched. That would have ended my game there, but they held it. They literally held it. I already exhausted every one of my effects, and you want to fight this board? I don't know what happened there. We summon ourselves Fenrir, and I'm feeling pretty confident about how the game's going right now. They go battle phase, then they evenly match me. Why? I don't know. We go Harmonizing Gradle, targeting the Winged Dragon Raw. Not like it matters. I just didn't want to. I don't know. I just want to be quirky. We lose all our cards. We keep Birth because Birth is just that OP. They go the true Sun God here. So they lost their battle phase for no reason, is what I'm hearing. In phase. Like, why? And just like that, Birth is so OP. Free summon at battle phase. That's it. Kashtira, Scareclaw, exact lethal. You know, hopefully you're enjoying this, like me commentating these games. I know we're now in the Master Duel Simulator. I'm having issues with finding people playing TCG. Don't worry. Now, we're playing against Magical Musket Fiendsmith. I do have to say, if you open Shifter, just Shifter. Look, you're given the luxury, you might as well use it. We open the Big Bang, which opens up really interesting options for combos, and the Birth. It's really interesting what we could do here. We're going to start it off, my turn. Shotgun Shifter. It's one of those decks, and I will say, I don't feel happy doing it. We add ourselves Unicorn, but how are you going to summon Unicorn? My opponent thinks, haha, I open Birth, I am just a good gamer. Normal summon the Unicorn effect. We're going to add Theosis, obviously. Now, we don't have access to Rise Heart, so we target the Unicorn to actually summon the Rise Heart here. But it's fine because we do get access to more stuff later. We go Shangri-Ira, Rise Heart, banishing the Ogre, sending the 3. Now we can trigger the Shangri-Ira, take a zone. Remember, we didn't go Birth yet. Birth can now target the Ogre. Summon the Ogre add the preparations, and preparation we are really prepped. We go into the second Shangri-Ira because we're greedy. We hold on to the Big Bang. We got preparations, we got Called by the Grave. I'm feeling really confident about how things are. If I get imprint on the Shangri-Ira, then we have no interruption though. So, we're looking pretty hot. They go Link to the Reigns. Some of the Magical Musketeer, Max, go into the Link one, the Goated Link one. Its effect adds Magical Musket spell traps up to the number of monsters your opponent controls, or special summons Magical Musket monsters up to the number of spell traps I control. Either way, it's a 3 or 3. They're choosing to add spell traps. So they're going to add themselves 3 old spell traps here. One's a pop and one's a negate, I think. Now, what's the plan now? They also have the Triple Tattis talents, which may be scary. They normal summon Starfire. Now, and then they trigger the effect, targeting my good old Birth, getting rid of it. Triggering the old Starfire here. Guess what? You activated a trap. Preparations were ripping one of the cards. We get rid of their talents that they should have used earlier, in all honesty. They're not looking so happy now. They summon themselves a Casper. Remember, we can go Fenrir here, and we can go Shangri-Ira plus Shangri-Ira, removing both zones. They're going to negate the effect using cross-domination here. We get to remove both zones. I'm not sure what they're going to do now. They could go into an SP though, that could be really scary. But instead, they quit. Last but not least, we're going against the Pharaoh Tim, and I just want to showcase... I don't know what I wanted to showcase here. Cross-out Designator being funny. Is that it? I don't even know why I put this replay in here, but let's see what happens. It's our turn. We're playing against Lightsworn. We're going to start off with a good old Terraform, and thankfully enough they don't have Ash, because if they had Ash, we would have had to end our turn. Well, no, we wouldn't. No, I think we would have actually. I don't have Ash in this deck. We go with Theosis. We're obviously going to add ourselves Fenrir this time. Why Fenrir? Unicorn won't really be able to add anything, so... We go Fenrir. We add ourselves Ogre. Unicorn doesn't seem that important, in all honesty. We're going to go Birth here. We're going to normal summon the Ogre. Free normal summon. Don't forget Ogre adds preparations just in case we want to activate a pesky little trap here. We can go with Theosis actually targeting the Fenrir if we want. Go Rise Heart, because Rise Heart is something we can do. We don't need the Unicorn just yet. Rise Heart, banish the Unicorn now we have access to it, because it still is very valuable interruption here. We're going to remove a zone from our dear old opponent. And then we're going to go Birth, summoning back the Unicorn. Just because we have all the spells doesn't mean we can add more. We got Unicorn, add Birth, just in case to get rid of our other Birth. Then we're going to get greedy one more time. Or not. 5th summon, Shangri-Ira, getting a beard. Sadly, they didn't have talents for us. We go Preparation, because you got a Preparation. Remember, if they asked that would suck. But they didn't, so we go Unicorn. We want to see what extra deck they have. We're looking pretty confident here. They're going to go Charge Light Brigade, and this is going to spell Disaster for them. Did you just activate a spell while I control Kashtira? They add themselves the Dragonling. They go those two and that, and I go Banish. I don't want to see it. We banish 3, and it's time to start Zone Locking, pal. They add themselves Judgment Dragon, but it'll be them who's receiving the judgment, not us. Well, banish face down, Shangri-Ira plus Unicorn, extra rip. We're already taking 2 zones, we're about to be taking much more. I removed their SP Little Knight. I don't want to see it. The EMZ is really scary. You can't remove from the EMZ. We trigger Shangri-Ira, we go Shangri-Ira again. We go Wraitsoth to get rid of our Unicorn that was underneath there. They go Solar Recharge, discard 1, draw 2. Or discard, send a card, this card adds back to hand. They're not looking so hard. They don't have a monster zone. So now we're no longer afraid of that SP. They're going to go Foolish Barrel. I thought they had something really sketchy. They send, like, wait, let me pause real quick. What do they send? They send Electromagnetic Turtle. A really interesting card against Tempai, actually. Because during your opponent's battle phase, you can banish this card from the graveyard and end the battle phase. Really useful against Tempai, who just straight up kills you. So I do like what they did there. That means that guarantees that they could survive one more turn, if it wasn't for the fact that I have a play around it. They're going to trigger Left Arm Offering, banishing their entire hand to add a spell from deck to hand. It better be Lightning Storm in all honesty. No, that won't do anything. Lightning Storm wouldn't do anything. Herald of the Abyss would do something though. They're going to go Foolish Barrel. They're sending themselves Transaction Rollback, but they have no targets. They believe they're going to survive, and here's where I'm going to squash their dreams. Shangri-Ira, summon Rise Heart. We're taking more zones. Main phase 1. We're going to go Unicorn. They have nothing that really scares me. We're going to add ourselves a good old Scare Cache. Now this is where I start fumbling because there's so much effects I could activate, and I don't even have enough room. I'm just feeling really quirky right now, really happy about how things are going and how, like, I'm going to hurt his feelings. We banish 3 off the top, banish face down, Shangri-Ira plus Big Bang, taking one of the cards from the top, from the materials and then summoning it. We're going to add ourselves that Ogre and summon the Ogre. We want to just, oh, and here's where the funny happens. Harmonizer Gradle. Did you know it has a quick effect to target one monster in your opponent graveyard, detach material from this card, and if you do, attach this target to the card's material. So the card that they were going to banish to end the battle phase unfortunately won't be happening. So that's going to be a womp womp. We attach the turtle, they don't get a battle phase, and Birth, summon that Unicorn. Battle phase effect, they can't banish for battle phase. We go Ogre, banish 5, they're about to lose all their zones. 2, 3, 4, 5, and they quit. Now, we're back with the decks. I hope you enjoyed me explaining kind of like, you know, these games that I had. instead of me like fumbling through combos and everything. Hopefully this can be a shorter video for your viewer enjoyment. Time for me to explain what I'm doing with the funny deck and then what I'm doing with the pure version. Now, basically, the funny deck, the only difference is that we're running 7 Tachyon because it chooses a monster with between 101 and 107, adds the card with the same level but either the same attribute or type as well, and then adds it to your hand and then shovels one card back into your deck. You can add Vanity's Ruler by choosing number 107 Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon because it's a Dragon Light level 8, so you can either add a level 8 Dragon or a level 8 Light monster, and we choose Vanity Ruler because sometimes we don't use a normal summon because all these cards special summon themselves. I chose the Lure Queen Engine because technically it's a free normal summon off of birth. Also, the ability to equip when your opponent's monster is good. The ability to just have a free rank 7 before you go into unicorns and commit too much is really good. We got Metaltronus because we're running cards that they may run, right? Like, if my opponent's running a Light Fiend monster like Desert Ire, I can summon Underworld Goddess and negate the Desert Ire, and they can't activate card effects in response to it, because having Birth negate it kind of sucks, and Unicorn as well is kind of scary. We need Balin 105 Cestus because it is a Tachyon target. You go Tachyon, reveal Cestus. It actually adds Rise Heart because it either adds a level 4 warrior monster or a level 4 fire monster. And guess what? This is both. Now, we got the Allure Queen package. It's very small. It's just Palace and Dance. Dance can add Palace or it can add another Allure Queen. You can banish to the graveyard. You can discard Shifter. You can like discard Shifter, summon itself, target the Shifter, and then summon your Allure Queen level 7, free rank 7. Now, the targets I chose for the extra deck are often quite unique. Mainly Zeus. Zeus is important. Typhon's important if things get sketchy. Guess what? You can have Shangri-Ir on the field and steal your opponent's monster going thrust. You can steal your opponent's monster using the Big Eye, and then depending on how big it is, along your Shangri-Ir, you won't have to tribute that off. You can use your opponent's monster and turn it into a Typhon, since Shangri-Ir is so tiny. Big Bang's super useful. Don't use the, its normal trap effect because it's just a worse evenly matched. Overlap is a really interesting card I decided to add. I'm still considering it, right? Draco Sack's pretty cool if you want to do the IP and the SP just using the Draco Sack. Pops a free card, protects itself. Gradle messes with their graveyard just in case they have something scary in there. Big Eye to take is really good. Also, Metaltronus targets. Do you know, if my opponent has, I don't know, let's say, if they want to go Bahamut Shark before summoning Toad, I can Metaltronus and then summon Poseidra Elania Dragonlord and then negate their Bahamut Shark so that they can't make Toad. Which is really funny. If they have level 3000 dragons, or like a 3000 light monster, I don't know, like 3000 dragon or 3000 light dragon or something, you can negate it effect. Machine monsters, negate. Dark fiends, I don't know, like Yubel, negate. If they're running SP and IP, I can banish them face down, which also interacts with Shangri-Ir quite well. And then we're running the Tri-Heart because, I don't know, it seems funny. We're not really linking very often, but on the off chance we need a link summon, I don't mind Tri-Heart. We got the one preparation because I do want this to be a Scareclaw, a Kashtira build, so we have to run the Ogre, we're running the Kashtira, and we're running the Scarecash. They're pretty useful on off situations where I have this in hand, I summon itself by banishing a Big Bang, or you need cards to banish so that the birth is live. Like, I want Scarecash to just banish my Shangri-Ir so that my preparations can summon it back. Really fun situations. We got Prosby, why not? You can run Prosby if you want. More funny cards. Vanity's Ruler. Did you know? Since most of your cards are level 7s, then spell card soul exchange is pretty useful in how that it just straight up immediately, it's a spell card. Immediately after its effect resolves, tribute one monster, and you can tribute monsters your opponent controls even if you do not control them. So if your opponent has like a threatening board presence and you have a unicorn or something goofy, then you can thrust, add soul exchange, tribute your opponent's monsters. That's just so funny in my opinion. It's like turns your cards to kaijus. You're running high level, you might as well run this. Now, another issue I have is targeting, right? And that's when I think this card's still even more useful now. Poseidra is insane because it requires 3 level 7s, which is kind of hard, but you're spamming level 7s a lot, and if you have a monster like Avermax that can't be targeted, or you have a monster like, I don't know, Sanctifier that can't be targeted, Poseidra really helps because all it does is detaches 2 materials, Sends a water monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, then returns up to 3 cards your opponent controls in the hand. Non-targeting removal, you can send an ogre to the graveyard for birth. You can send tier cash, and it's just so useful. Like, it's removal, non-targeting. Now this build is definitely more greedy and has more fun payouts, but it has cons. The pros is that it's really fun, it's degenerate, it's tight 40 cards. I tried my hardest. It is not easy to make this 40 cards, like, because you're running so many Kashtiras, right? But it's fun. The Alert Queen engine really helps put rank 7s on the field. If you don't have access to your Kashtiras, the Alert Queens can just be extra bait. Like, if you let an Alert Queen go through, then I'm going to threaten to rank 7 that you have to deal with, right? And then they're also like free special summons as well. Then the 7 Tachyon, super funny. Like, adding Vanity's Ruler and then summoning it on your opponent to prevent them from special summoning is so funny. And then don't forget, with the Alert Queen, on the often super high roll chance, if you open Dance plus Palace, you're able to summon 2 rank 7s before you even go into Kashtira. So you can technically make 3 Shangri-Ira before activating Rise Heart. It's unlikely, but it's funny, right? I know that there is a con though, and that Shifter doesn't interact with Alert Queen very well, but that's when you hold it. You just hold it. It's like you have 2 different engines working. Now, here's more cons. I'm sorry. The cons of the deck goes as follows. Shangri-Ira on your opponent's turn turns on their thrust. You don't like that. If they ash your Shangri-Ira, then your board is significantly weaker. If you get Impermanent Unicorn, you don't have Birth or Theosis, your board's significantly weaker. You're ending on nothing. Also, Nibiru. If you want to play greedy like me and play into the Shangri-Ira zone lock, because I wasn't doing no making Utopic Draco Future Pass. No, I'm not doing that. I refuse. I'd rather just play Time Thieves in that case. If you want to play into the funny part of this deck, you're going to get nibbed probably. You may die to a Kurikara. There is no negate in this deck. Which is really unique about Kashtira is that this deck doesn't have any negates. Shifter turns off stuff, but you don't have negates, right? So when they activate a card effect, it goes through, and you just respond to it accordingly, right? Which means if you get evenly matched, it hurts a lot, losing your Shangri-Iras. If you get, I don't know, dropleted, that really hurts, because it turns off your protection of Shangri-Ira. And a lot of decks can just kind of stop it, right? Now on to the more reformed build, because let's go into the, I don't want to play allures, I want to be able to stop hand traps, right? And cook my opponent. Alright. This build is more reformed, right? We're not playing the Allure Queens, we have more access to ways to stop my opponent. And we don't die as much to certain cards, right? You can see we're running Fuvaros, so we draw into more cards that can pretty dangerously destroy my opponent, right? Fuvaros to draw. If you go Shifter Chain Fuvaros, you draw, and they also can't summon. I mean, everyone wants their graveyard, right? Except this deck. We actually have Crossout Designator, which has a really cool synergy with the Birth. Because imagine you open 2, right? You don't need 2. You can just set 1 and then hold it, right? If you know your opponent doesn't have interruption. So you can use the Crossout Designator to like send 1 monster, banish one of your Kashtiras, and then summon it back off of the Birth. Then it will be live on the next turn, right? If you already used the effect and everything. So that's pretty useful, or like add it to hand. Imagine I go Crossout Designator for Scare Cash. Then when I do my full combo, I can go Rise Heart, banish Theosis, then Theosis can add back Scare Cash for my opponent's turn. Well, like that's pretty useful. You get your talents access, thrust talents. When you do your full play, there's a moment where I could just thrust into Terraforming, into Raidsoft. And then I just cook my opponent, right? Like that's insane. Metaltronus is a little bit better because you have more targets now. We have Baguska as an Earth Fiend just to be safe, like, I don't know, Guardian Chimera plays. We got ourselves Dark Arm Dragon of Annihilation. It's pretty good if you want to, non-once per turn, pop a card, banish one of your own. Imagine your Shangri-Ira goes to pasture, right? You make your Dark Arm Dragon Annihilation, pop one of their cards, banish Shangri Era, preparation summons it back. We also have cross out for the Fuvaros on our opponent. If our opponent wants to Fuvaros us, we got cross out for it, we got called by, which we didn't have prior. We can also cross out Designator and evenly match, which is really good. We're not running 7 takedown because now we're hoping that we open more non-engine than engine. And I don't think Axis, we took out the Vandy's Ruler thing because we were just hoping that Kashtira takes us all the way, so. And with that, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's Kashtira. What do you want me to do, man? It's literally Kashtira. If you enjoyed this, let me know. And all that, feel free to comment your favorite part about me playing Degeneracy. I don't know. But yeah, it's been me. Hopefully the wheel keeps granting me with just easy decks. This deck's such a guilty pleasure, I'll be honest with you. You don't get too frustrated playing this, like, it's a guilty pleasure. Anyways, I'm dipping. Bye-bye.